Based off of the TV series The Boys, Gen V expands the universe to Godolphin University, the prestigious superhero-only college where students train to be the next generation of heroes. In today's podcast, we delve into two influential theories that deeply influence how we understand media and its societal effects. We will explore Walter Benjamin's theory of cinematic realism, which plays a crucial role in awakening political awareness through captivating storytelling, while also examining Stuart Hall's encoding/decoding theory, unraveling how audiences interpret and make sense of messages embedded in media. These theories will be thoroughly explored in relation to the series Gen V. In the first episode of Gen V, a pivotal moment in world building unfolds. A news anchor delivers a significant announcement regarding the Seven, an esteemed group of superheroes within the Gen V universe. The focal point of this revelation is the introduction of a new member, A-Train, a black man, notably the first of his ethnicity, to join the Seven. The narrative places considerable emphasis on this groundbreaking milestone, highlighting the significance of his inclusion within the prestigious superhero collective. The strong emphasis on A-Train's racial identity goes back to Walter Benjamin's theory on how films represent race and racial identities. Benjamin believed that art and media could either perpetuate dominant ideologies or offer alternative perspectives. Films have the power to shape perceptions of race by depicting diverse characters and narratives authentically or by reinforcing stereotypes and biases. He states that, together, those pointed to the potential for a more powerful cinematic realism that could awaken film audiences to a new political consciousness. So, essentially, Benjamin is exploring or explaining that films and TV shows can implement societal and racial structures within their plots, and by doing so, they create a complex network of components that shape a viewer's experience. So, for example, perhaps if you were an African American or any individual a part of a minority group watching this scene, you resonated with this scene where A-Train was implemented into the Seven because you know how it feels to be the minority group in a large setting. And while this is occurring in a world of superheroes, this is an authentic moment that occurs for many people of color in real life. And by implementing this scene, the creators helped to develop their own complex racial network. In regards to the viewer encoding/decoding process, the audience can depict what A-Train, being the first African-American man, and the Seven signified for them. So Stuart Hall explains that creators encode TV shows with certain representation of characters, including those of different racial or ethnic backgrounds. How people of color are portrayed as main characters, whether they are depicted in stereotypical ways or with depth, ethnicity, and complexity, impacts how audiences perceive and relate to them. So Hall emphasizes that the social context in which a message is exchanged makes the moment of decoding open to various new meanings provided by audience. They get the message, but the message is influenced and may be altered by their specific situations. So, for example, in this scene, A-Train is an African-American man that is essentially being shown in a positive light because he is a superhero and not being portrayed as a stereotypical black man. So for black viewers like myself, this was a positive moment because an African-American person wasn't being showcased stereotypically, like how they typically portray African-American men in the media. So like a thug or a criminal. So going back to what Hall was stating, he's basically insinuating that situational context is also a factor in the encoding/decoding process. In other words, who you are also influences the way you will perceive certain situations that occur within films and TV shows. So even outside of the fact that A-Train is being shown in a positive light, as a person of color, I also resonated with this scene because there have been times where I myself was the only person of color in a work environment, and I am sure that other people of color that viewed this scene also had the same resignation, being that it is still such a common occurrence in society today. So that brings me to the next scene. So in the season finale of Gen V, the Woods are revealed. The Woods is a place where Dean Shetty is the dean of Godolphin University, and other faculty members from Godolphin University conduct secret and morally reprehensible experiments on students. Their aim is to discover a method for non-superpower individuals to control those with extraordinary abilities. So non-superhero people controlling superhero people with technology. So this shocking reveal brings the forefront themes of abuse of authority, ethical dilemmas, and the relentless pursuit of power, which is a very big one, and I'll explain furthermore later. So, in retaliation to the abuse inflicted by Dean Shetty, Sam and Kate, two students that attend Godokan University, having experienced it firsthand, so they were victims of the faculty and Dean Shetty, they abused them. They aim for vengeance by targeting all non-superpowered individuals on the Godokan University campus. So this action introduces a morally complex and deeply charged conflict. So while this is ongoing, Marie and Jordan, two other students of Godokan University, are opposed to the idea of harming non-superheroes. And they are actually aware of Sam and Kate's plan, so they come to the difficult realization that they might actually have to end up fighting their friends, being that they have two completely different moral perspectives on the matter. So this situation actually brings me to Hall's theory of negotiation of meanings, because a lot of viewers like myself were in the middle of this moral debate. Of course, experimenting on people is a bad thing. Yes, Sam and Kate did suffer abuse by Dean Shetty and the faculty members of Godokan University. But should every non-superhero deserve to be murdered because a few people abused their power? Not necessarily. So Stuart Hall's theory highlights that audiences don't passively accept these encoded morals, but actively interpret them based on their own experiences, beliefs, and values. So people bring their own unique moral framework to the films that they watch, which influences how they perceive and interpret the moral messages embedded in stories. So Hall states that thus some audiences might provide negotiated interpretations in which some parts of the dominant message are rejected and some are retained. So essentially, Hall is explaining that although creators implement their own messages within films and TV shows, as a viewer, you have the opportunity to analyze the message that is shown before you on your own terms, hence where the negotiation of interpretation comes in. And there were various debates going online on Reddit and other websites and on social media about how people felt about Sam and Kate and Marie and Jordan basically fighting against each other because of this big moral dilemma. So this situation also relates to Walter Benjamin's political consciousness theory, because Benjamin states that films often depict moral situations that involve power struggles, ethical dilemmas, and the consequence of certain actions. And these portrayals can shed light on power dynamics within society, revealing the moral complexities inherent in these structures. So the power dynamic in this scene is clear, because you essentially have two students wanting to go against faculty members at a university. And on a larger scale, you have superheroes against non-superheroes, with the exclusion of, Marie and Jordan, because they are superheroes, but they just don't believe that non-superheroes should suffer firsthand because other regular human beings, abused Sam and Kate. So I want to mention that Benjamin states that around the time of the 1920s and 1930s, people began to recognize and understand that movies are not just pure entertainment, but they're also cultural experiences that shape society and communicate powerful political and ideological values. So, nevertheless, I wanted to dig deeper into this powerful political and ideological values that Benjamin was talking about, because we can clearly see that the power dynamic issue is a big theme, and not only in this scene, but in the Gen V series. So, in the 7th episode, in episode 7, it's revealed that Dean Shetty's motivation for conducting experiments on superheroes in the woods and essentially seeking their demise stems from a tragic event, because a superhero named Homelander actually caused the death of her entire family aboard a plane. So Homelander essentially killed her family when they were on a plane. Hence why she believes that superheroes need to be controlled. So there are many people in the Gen V universe that believe that superheroes abuse their powers, hence why there are actually political debates that take place within the show. These debates essentially are provided in order to ensure that both superheroes and non-superheroes are treated fairly. However, there are also some people in the show, like Dean Shetty, and Sam and Kate that believe that the two cannot coexist and one group just essentially needs to be eradicated. This brings me to introduce Benjamin's statement concerning the apparatus within the media. He states that the most social function of a film is to establish equilibrium between human beings and the apparatus. So Benjamin explains that the apparatus is configured by multiple factors like the cultural and societal context in which films are created and consumed. It includes the prevailing ideologies, values, and norms that influence both filmmakers and audiences. So in the TV series Gen V, we witness contrasting ideologies. Some strive for power, while others advocate for peace. So there are some people like Marie and Jordan who advocate for peace versus Sam and Kate and Dean Shetty who want all the power. So that's another ideology that Benjamin stated that is really prevalent in this TV show. So Hall's encoding and decoding theory is also present because filmmakers encode their movies with various moral messages, whether it's about justice or power or any ethical principle. These morals are embedded within the narrative, characters, and overall storytelling. Hall's theories suggest that producers encode media with intended messages, including moral ones, shaping the audience's understanding of right and wrong. The right and wrong aspect is very, very clear. Especially within this episode when it's revealed that, Dean Shetty's family was killed by a superhero. So Hall actually goes on to state that the first hypothetical position is that of the dominant hegemonic position when the viewer takes the connotated meaning from, say, a television newscast or current affairs program full and straight and decodes the message in terms of the reference code in which it has been encoded. We might say that the viewer is operating inside the dominant code. So in other words, viewers reshape the context of what they've watched and reshape it into their own connotative meaning that is influenced by their own beliefs and how they perceive the information before them. Some might have looked at this picture with Homelander killing Dean Shetty's family, or even that flashback that occurred of Dean Shetty remembering that her family was murdered on a plane, and completely took their own, shifted the meaning between what Dean Shetty was doing is wrong, and perhaps more so, I understand where she's coming from. Is she really that bad of a person? Is she really the antagonist in this show? Should we perhaps be a bit more empathetic towards her situation? Her family is gone. She's the only person by herself now in this world. So that's what essentially what Hall was stating, that viewers can essentially take context and reshape it into their own beliefs. Lastly, I want to add in another quote from Hall, because he states that this brings us to the question of misunderstandings. Television producers who find their message failing to get across are frequently concerned to straighten out the kinks in the communication chain, thus facilitating the effectiveness of their communication. And I really wanted to emphasize that this doesn't really happen in the show, or at least it happens, but it's not as prominent, being that things are so, a lot of things that they put in front of you, like this moral thing of whether or not superheroes should be controlled, whether or not non-superhero people should be the one to control them. The way it's visually given to you, it's such a, either you're on this side or this side. There's not really a gray area to things to be, for things to not be digested or not to be understood, because things are just visually presented in such a loud manner that a lot of audience, even like a lot of people, are able to perceive it in a very fast and effective way. So as we conclude this exploration, we've explored the intriguing concept of Stuart Hall's encoding and decoding theory and Walter Benjamin's theory of cinematic realism. Both of these theories are instrumental of our understanding of media and societal consciousness today. And through Gen V, we've witnessed the interplay of encoding and decoding, where audiences engage with interpreting messages and awakening political awareness. And these theories mirrored in the series showcase the power of media in shaping perceptions and challenging norms. Thank you.